Ladies and gentlemen, there's no better way to get up in the morning than to get up with Garret. With your host, Garret Vedran. How are you?
Thanks, Dougie. I'm doing good.
Good morning.
Doing good. Been having a little cayenne pepper in my juice, trying to
Yeah.
work the throat a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
When you're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and
Yes.
YouTube,
Yes.
you got to make sure you're taking care of your vocal cords.
Yes. And we want to remind you guys, we are live and we want to make this as interactive as possible. So if you leave a question or comment in the comment section, we can answer it live with you today.
Absolutely. Always. We appreciate you can send in emails. We have an email address, getupwithgarret@gmail.com.
Yep.
Or you can comment on Facebook or LinkedIn. Thank you. Or YouTube, whatever social network channel of your choice. We love them all. We don't discriminate
Absolutely.
against social media channels
Yes.
by any means. So it was great to see you over the weekend, and we
Yes.
survived the birthday month. It was
Yes.
quite a run. Right?
I was honored to be involved.
Thank
you. Thank you for having me.
Did a great job, and we've gotten through the big birthdays in the house, and we still have Daisy left, who's the pandemic peppy. She'll be turning 1 on Halloween, and of course some other ones like my mom and other important family members, of course. But in the house, we did get through the big kind of barrage of everyone. So still catching our breath, still recovering, still tired, but feeling like always thankful and grateful for wonderful friends and family.
Absolutely.
So now something exciting on the business side that's going on today publicly. Everyone has heard about Wework, and Wework went through kind of a disastrous fall from the top. And there's a lot of documentaries out about Adam Newman, and did this guy know what he was doing? Is he a good manager? Did he know how to run a big business, or did he just have a great idea? Sometimes you watch shows like a Shark Tank, right? And they'll talk about, are you an entrepreneur or are you a wantrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And you have to understand that there are different strengths that people have along the way. So Adam Newman had an incredible vision to come up with the concept of Wework, and it was absolutely loved by the customer. And I think he was ahead of his time, because now post-COVID, most big businesses are going to be having some type of hybrid structure where their employees are going to be in the office 3 to 4 days a week. It's going to be flexible. It's going to be totally different, in my opinion. So big companies are going to come to Wework in similar names like Regis, which is a tenant of mine in North Carolina. And they're going to say, look, we want a flexible option. We want 6-month lease. We want a 1-year lease. We want 6 breakout rooms plus a conference room, but we don't need, 30,000 square feet of real estate tied up for 5 years, right, on our balance sheet.
Yep. So
Adam Newman kind of created the concept and had trouble getting it to the next level. And SoftBank came in, this tremendous investment, and the thing just fell apart. The leases fell apart. Everything fell apart. Well, they're back, and they're actually going to be going public. And the reason why I think this is going to be a winner and this is going to be a hero and not a zero is because the person at the top is a former commercial real estate real VIP. His name is Sandeep. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because I don't want to offend him, but he's running the show, and he's a well-seasoned manager. He's worked for Vornado, major real estate developers. And Wework at the heart is a real estate business. You have to understand that. And so now with the right person kind of correcting that ship, and the time being perfect, especially in big cities like New York and LA and San Francisco, Chicago, where, the office market certainly got depressed. You've got much higher vacancy rates than ever. They're going to be able to get great real estate and really get great tenants, excuse me. So from both sides, they're going to win on the P&L. So I'm not making any type of kind of stock predictions or anything, but you should definitely be looking at Wework with the attitude that is a turnaround story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's kind of the same. It's kind of similar to, what you guys got going on. You're helping entrepreneurs have a space to do their work.
Yeah. I mean, the Salons by JC concept for sure is very similar to Wework, that it's flexible, it's turnkey. The operator can kind of come in with their customers, their clients, get started right away. And, Salons by JC or Wework already does the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when I talk about Salons by JC to other investors and lenders and stakeholders in our businesses, I often will say, because they don't always get it right away, which I understand, it's new, I'll compare to Wework. And sometimes they'll look at me with an eye like, why did you just compare, your baby, this thing that you love so much, to a financial disaster? And I say, well, because I'm talking about the concept, not about who was behind it and how they, weren't forthcoming or didn't, manage their investments correctly. But conceptually, the customers loved WeWork. And we're correct with that statement, Doug, because they're back and they're back in a big way.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled about that. Two other things I wanted to address. Tesla, again, just killing it. They're hitting their numbers. They're hitting the numbers that they said they would hit. There's just so many haters out there. All the stock analysts now are going back big on Tesla. Yeah. I think it's at 800, and they're saying, oh, it's going to go to 1500. It's going to go to 1100. And they're just so far ahead of everyone else because they're thinking in multiple business lines or revenue. Like we always talk about, you want to have a lot of different types of revenue. Tesla is not just a car company. They're a automation company. They're a battery company. Yeah. They're a solar company. I mean, it's just incredible what they can do. And now building all these factories, Brazil, China, all over the place. And the fact that they can get the chips because they're designing the chips, while other car companies you've read have had a lot of trouble with inventory, chip shortages, just getting things across the ocean. So keep looking for Tesla to keep winning big and keep surprising. And I just think they're on a whole other level than everybody else.
Oh yeah, they're like at Apple level, and like they've developed a community. Elon Musk tweets out Dogecoin and it's skyrocketing. You know what I mean? It's more than just the product now. It's the community. It's a brand. It's like, it's a household name.
If you're thinking of Tesla in terms of GM and Ford and a car company, you're wrong. You've missed it. It's just a whole different type of world. And I think Apple's a great example. Netflix, Amazon, they're just going to keep going. Like I think Jim Cramer calls it TAN, Tesla, Amazon, Netflix. He's like, people think these are for dead. They just come back with incredible content, right? Netflix, Squid Game, 200 million people have seen this thing. I have no idea about it. I haven't seen it yet.
Not bad.
Do you recommend to the audience that we check it out?
Give it a shot. Okay. I mean, I think I'm on episode 3 or 4. Okay. Give it a shot. There's a couple tugs on the heartstrings a couple times. No Ted Lasso. It's no Ted Lasso, but it is entertaining.
I've got a few things ahead of that. We have to finish the morning show. We knocked a couple of those out, which is season 2.
Any good?
I love Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon. Not going to lie. I think they're incredible together.
Nice.
And of course, let's see what else. I've got Billions. I've watched 1 or 2 of those of this season. Paul Giamatti looks totally different. He lost a ton of weight. Not sure exactly what happened, but he looks totally different. And then Succession just came back last night, which is kind of like what I'm living. So, so I think that one, rings home. My dad always says, "Yeah, are you watching it? Are you watching it?" So I'm excited. So I got some things. And Jessica mentioned something called Made. She wants to watch a show called Made. If you heard of that, write in. Let us know with a review. What are you guys watching between Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon? It just goes on and on. Peacock. Let me know what you're watching, and we'll talk about it here live on the show.
C. Jason Samoa. C.
Apple's great.
Apple's great.
They've got some winners too.
Yeah,
they've got some winners too. Also, your Bitcoin is going through the roof.
Yeah, I was going to say that when you mentioned Tesla, like, you know, Dogecoin's through the roof, Bitcoin through the roof, Ethereum is above 4K right now. So there might be the bump.
Yeah. So Bitcoin, I believe, has been all-time high about 65,000, 64,000, right around there. And, this is something that only maybe a couple months ago had the big, kind of falling down party, let's say, and was in the 25 to 40 range. So you could have bought in, you could have had that. Absolutely. You would have doubled your money already. And I've been saying, I think Bitcoin goes to 100K by the end of this year. And, it's not that far away right now. It's really not that far away. And just as a quick kind of reminder, there's a lot of, people don't understand Bitcoin, and by no means are we experts in that. But to understand the concept that gold is a fixed asset, right? And gold is a hard asset, like real estate. And there's only so much gold in the world, right? And gold has some massive value, whether it's 100 trillion or, pick a number of what's the whole world of gold, what's that all worth? So Bitcoin, I'm not so big on Bitcoin as transacting. Like, I'm not looking to go to Starbucks and pay with Bitcoin. I think we're far away from that. But the concept that there is a new digital kind of reserve, kind of a digital asset that only has 21 million pieces of it, right? There's 21 million Bitcoins. Now, you don't have to buy one Bitcoin for $65,000. You can buy 0.0000000 of a Bitcoin for
Sure.
$500, right?
Sure.
So if you sign up with like Coinbase or the Cash App, which is run by Square,
Mhm.
I would definitely recommend you do one of those larger companies and don't go with like a private wallet right now while you're starting out and you're kind of dipping your toe. And anytime you're doing any time of kind of investment, only play with what I would call the house's money. So don't put the money in that you're paying your mortgage, you're paying for your kids' school, paying for camp, your food. It's that extra vacation, that slush money when you're
Mhm.
getting started. And you want to do something called dollar cost averaging. My uncle taught me this. You never want to just jump in. Let's say you have a free $1,000 and you're going to buy a stock. You don't just put it all in at once. You put a little bit at a time, once a week, once a month, twice a month. For everyone, it's different, but you don't try to game the market and say, oh, here's the one day.
Mhm.
It's very difficult to do that. Professionals who make a ton of money and tons of research have trouble doing that. It's about being consistent. So you put a little in, $100, and the next couple of days, $100, and you dollar cost average. So with Bitcoin, I started doing that months and months ago. $50, $100. It's not a big deal.
Mhm.
And then you wake up and you're up 30%, you're up 40%, and you can really pay for things now because you made a profit
Yeah.
with it. So I'm
And
still.
then you
Go
take
ahead.
your profit and you use that profit to invest in other things.
Exactly. You take the cash flow, and we're going to talk more about that in the future, but cash flow from an asset, you want to buy an asset that's called an income producing asset.
Mhm.
And then you take the income from that and reinvest that. And now you're rolling, and that's how wealth generation
Mhm.
is created. So just excited about where Bitcoin's going.
Yeah.
Excited about, the more the government comes out and says, we're going to approve, ETFs, we're going to have more background checks on Bitcoin. We're going to have more security on it. Although that may temporarily scare some people and say, I don't want it.
Mhm.
That's actually very good for the value, because that means it's legitimate. And
Yeah.
it means that big banks will then sell it to big customers. And when that starts happening,
Yeah.
look out. This thing's going to go,
Yeah.
there's people that think Bitcoin will be 300,000, $500,000, $1 million
Mhm.
a coin. Okay. Now that's very speculative, right?
Yeah.
So again, be careful while you're out there. Don't go tell them that Garret said go put all your money into Bitcoin. That's not. Just put a teeny little bit.
Yes.
Just dip your toe.
Yes.
Dip your toe.
Absolutely. And what is exciting too is, along with Bitcoin, have you ever heard of Ethereum, which is like the number 2
Yes.
most popular coin? And they believe Ethereum one day will surpass Bitcoin because there's a platform and you can do multiple uses. Bitcoin is gold.
Yep.
You can only do so much with gold, right? But
Right.
Ethereum is like is like Internet 3.0. You can layer it with other stuff. So I bought some Ethereum. I'm waiting for that to skyrocket. But
Hey,
yes.
well, hope is not a business
It's
plan.
not.
So you
It's
said
not.
wait. At least to wait.
Yeah. No.
That's fine.
I invested. I'm letting it
Good.
ride. I mean, I bought in at $500 a share, and now it's at 4,000.
There you go.
And I got 4 of those
Let's
bad
go to
boys.
the party, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go. Mazel tov, as we say.
Yes.
I just got a text from a friend who has a very successful business,
Mhm.
and he texted me to say that he just hired someone who we knew and we had recommended and chatted about it. So I apologize. I'm not going to say who that is, but congratulations if you're watching. That's awesome. I'm glad to see people connecting, through my network.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to talk about our big multi mixed use project that we're doing in Hawthorne.
Yep.
The Hedges at Hawthorne.
Yep.
We had an incredible design meeting earlier this week where we got to see like the roof deck and some of the model units and the furniture and the artwork.
Mhm.
And let me just tell you, they nailed it. I was like blown away by the brand and the feel. It's sexy, it's bold, it's chic, it's aggressive. I mean, I'm ready to sell my house and move in here, to be honest. I don't know how you feel about that, Jessica, but it's an incredible, incredible property. And so I'll be able to share a little bit more of that as it gets kind of finalized. I don't want to share things that are kind of more the brainstorm and weren't fully all signed off on yet for full transparency. But we did start framing the project. So I don't know if you have some videos or photos.
We got a photo
from the site. You've heard that it's very hard to get lumber. We got wood from Brazil and from Canada. Tons of wood on the site, and we're going. I mean, some walls are up. Kind of the outline of the I guess the outline of the walls of the apartments of the first phase there have started. And we think by the end of the year that this building will be framed. We're rocking and rolling, so everyone can take a look at the great photos and check those out. Let us know what you think. The other cool thing I want to tell you about, which was new to me, I evidently had agreed to this a year ago, and kind of, there's a million things that go on in a project, so wasn't really thinking about it. But I was reminded that with our self-storage building, which is going to be a CubeSmart, and just so everyone knows, CubeSmart, it's like Marriott. So if you're a hotel investor, you typically don't open the bedroom hotel because that doesn't necessarily have a big brand value right now. We hope so in the future. But you would open up the hotel and you would call it Marriott Courtyard or Hilton Garden Inn. And you're basically paying them a royalty or a license fee for their name and for their reservation system. And that way, like if you travel with or Marriott, you have a card?
I'm not like
not a big business traveler. Okay.
Well, I'm not like, I'm not married to one of them.
Okay. So like if you have the Marriott Bonvoy credit card, you're getting points, right?
Gotcha.
So, let's say you get, I don't know, X amount of points gets you 3 free nights a year. So you're going to look for Marriott hotel. So I can't find you if I'm not Marriott, right? So that's why you want to be with what's called a flag, like Marriott or Hilton, one of the big companies, and they own mostly all the brands. So it's the same thing in self-storage. You want to go with CubeSmart because they're the biggest, baddest, boldest leader in that business. And we get all their national branding. We get their reservation system, their loyalties, their computer systems, all the systems that will help us get off the ground and make it a big financial success. But we own the building and we own the business. They just get paid a royalty fee. So something new that they've come out with through their partnership with a company called Janus and Noki is a Bluetooth cell phone enabled locking system. So I don't know, Doug, can you share the...
Already up.
Perfect. Cool. So that little gadget there is, there's a basic kind of lock on a typical self-storage that you just slide to open. But now the manager can do that from their phone, and, the renter can do it from their phone. So let's say you went and dropped off some of your Undefeated Media extra podcast equipment that you have lying around the office, a few camera bags, I think I see, you could maybe put in storage somewhere.
Absolutely.
And you said, oh, shoot, I forgot to lock it. You just text the manager, call the manager, and they can just do it right for you. Because part of their job is to walk around and make sure that people didn't forget to lock their units. So this keeps them back focused on the customer more. They don't have to worry about that. And you don't have to worry about forgetting your code or buying another lock or the lock breaking, having an issue. It's really, really convenient to just bring your phone up, just like you're paying with Apple Pay at the grocery store. You just go like this, done, opens it up. The other thing is it just makes sense for tracking. We know if people are in there at certain times. So in terms of efficiency, if we can track now that everyone comes at 7 a.m, all right, maybe we need to run the lights or the air more at 7 a.m. But if no one's coming, at 9 o'clock on, why would we waste money,
True.
On the utility? So I think it's very good also for that. So I'm very excited about that system. Definitely was a good investment. I think it wasn't free, it cost some dollars, but anytime you get into something like this, you want to be on the cutting edge, and we want this project to be as cutting edge as possible and as future proof. And we want to be able to talk to the younger generation and speak their language also. Yeah. So that's where we are.
Jeff says it's good for people with OCD who never remember if they locked it or not. Our friend Jeffrey Krentzman. Thanks for joining us, Greg.
Thanks, Jeff. And well, what about if you have, how many passwords you have in your head for all your different, companies and sites and codes and this and that, and now here's one you don't have to remember. So your stuff is safe. So there'll be more information about that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, we have a great project down in North Carolina. It's called the Hilltop House. It's a 169 unit apartment complex that we purchased, I think, about 2 years ago. And shout out to Spencer and Charlie from Meridian Realty who helped me get that project. And it's just been such a wonderful learning experience, and it's been a great investment for our investors and our family. And the only reason it's great is because we have a great team behind us. And we are 100% full right now. And to be 100% full in anything, whether it's an office building, a retail shopping center, a self-storage building, or an apartment complex, that is just nuts. Honestly, it's just incredible. Like everybody says, oh, of course you want to be 100%. But when you put together your business plan, right? And you show it to your investors in your bank, you don't say, hey, it's going to be 100% all the time. That's not accurate. Like that never happens. You always have to put like a 5% or 10% vacancy factor. which basically counts as an expense. And that way it's more realistic. And different times of the year, you're going to have better occupancy. So to be 100% is just killer, out of the park. I want, we just made a little video to kind of honor them and thank them. And feel free to rock that little video. Big shout out to the team down there.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Perfect. So everything that you see that we do comes with an incredible team behind us. And shout out to Jordan and Carol and Landon. And I know Landon's a big fan of the show. He watches every episode.
Yep.
And Ant down there. So we appreciate the love from Winston-Salem, and we're excited about growing more in North Carolina. I think we had talked previously about Chick-fil-A, just started a big project for us down there. That's in front of one of our actually the first shopping center we bought back in, April of 2008 or April of 2007. I can't recall. And the Chick-fil-A is actually worth probably more money than the entire amount of money we spent to buy the shopping center, which is just crazy 15 years later. So that we'll talk in the future about manufacturing money in commercial real estate. So the last thing I wanted to mention before we get to the football is was excited to have my good friend Steve Griffey and Austin Miller came in. They are the president. Steve's the president of Salons by JC.
Mm-hmm.
His dad is Jack, and Austin's dad, who we lost last year. Rest in peace. We love Cecil Miller. So Jack and Cecil are the founders. So these are the sons, the second generation.
Mm-hmm.
They were in town to look at real estate, New York, New Jersey, with us and other franchisees. And they came to our salon in Paramus. And I don't know if you have the photo available, but we got to meet some of the professionals at Paramus. And shout out to Daniela over there from Strip Wax for all your waxing needs. And she's doing spray tanning also, which is fun. And so we got to take a photo with her, and they absolutely love the salon and were blown away by the quality of the craftsmanship and how we did the salon, especially the new bathrooms, which was a brand new look that no one else had done yet. They were thrilled that we did it. And of course, the professionalism of all our hair professionals, beauty professionals, and we're just very excited about where that's going. And we're getting ready to start construction on number 3, which is in Ramsey, New Jersey, at the Ramsey Square Shopping Center. I don't know if you've ever been up there. I know you grew up in this area.
Yeah,
with Kohl's, Staples, at the new Aldi.
It's nice little center.
Yeah, so we've got 10,000 square feet. It'll be our largest one. So
actually got one of my cats at that Petco over there. Yeah.
I think now it's a pet. So the Petco is across the street at the interstate. This is on the other side.
Gotcha.
And there's a pet something. I want to say Pet Goods. I apologize for not getting that correct. I didn't know we were going to talk about kitty cats. But it's a great piece of real estate, and appreciate working with the Oster family and tying that up. And we're getting ready. I think our permits should be ready very, very soon, and we'll be in there doing plumbing, underground plumbing.
Nice.
And so we'll see you in the spring, Ramsey. We already have a VIP waiting list. There's a handful of people that have signed up already that really want to be there. So if you're interested in Ramsey, you can go on to the Salons by JC website, salonsbyjc.com. Under North Jersey and the different properties, you'll see Ramsey, and you can reach out to us. So I think we're ready to talk football. I don't want to look back. It's been very ugly. And if you've been listening to the show, hopefully you've listened more to our business tips than our football tips, because I would say we're not doing as well as I would have predicted, but that's okay.
Swarming up.
Neither are the Giants.
Yeah.
I think most people believe Daniel Jones is looking really good compared to what they thought, and that he's not the problem. As I've said on the show, we have something special with him. I don't think he should have played last week. In fact, I hate that when they put players kind of in jeopardy, and I know he may have passed everything, but a concussion is serious. In the mind, people forget, no matter what you wear on your head to protect your skull, there's nothing you can do to protect your brain from hitting your skull. There's no padding. There's just no padding. And so I hate to see someone young with such a great career ahead play a game that probably wasn't really winnable, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And I mean, it
Did you
was
catch
like
some of
4
it?
minutes left and they were down by like 30 points. Like, it's like either you're not winning that game, take them out. And when you get a concussion, your next concussion is easier to get.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. Coming from a guy who's got a few.
It's kind of like when you do a great real estate deal, your next one gets a lot easier.
Nice. Exactly.
I think there's a guy named Michael Blank who always says the art of the first deal. Once you get the first one done, number 2 and 3 just come right behind it in a month or two. I actually missed the game. I took Jessica to the Short Hills Mall for her birthday, which was great. But I rewatched the beginning because I was really interested in the first quarter. The Giants lead the NFL in the lowest amount of points allowed in the first quarter. Like, their defense has only given up maybe 3 or 6 points in the first quarter. So it's like, what the hell is going wrong here, guys?
Maybe they're on the field too long.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? And so, unfortunately, one of our star receivers, Tony, who has just been incredible, the rookie, I think he got hurt a little bit early on. There was a 4th and 1, maybe they missed, but momentum's real. I mean, the Giants were right there in the first quarter, and we got to understand as an organization, what are we doing? How are people making adjustments and we're not?
Yeah.
Because that's a good football in the first quarter.
Yeah. Maybe
So
they're getting tired because we're not keeping the offense on the field, so defense gets tired quick.
Sure.
I don't know.
And I'm disappointed. Earlier in the year, we never should have lost the Washington game or the Atlanta game. And what I think the issue is globally there is that I think the Giants trusted the defense more than they trusted the offense. And that offends me because I think really the offense is better than the defense. And had they put a little more trust in Daniel Jones and the offense, and had Tony been on the field in those games more, maybe we get those 2 games. And so, you're not looking at 1 and 5. You're looking at 3 and 3. I don't know, 3 and 2, 2 and something in there where at least you're like, all right, there's hope. Now, what are we, 1 and 5, 1 and 4? I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's never going to happen. That's what right? So, I'm never going to give up. I love this team. I'm going to follow them through the end. I'm going to the Raider game with some friends in a couple weeks. I'm excited about that. But I'm already going to be thinking about next year.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this week in football.
All right.
I actually have 3 games I've picked out, and of the 3, we've got 2 of your hometown teams if you live in the New York, New Jersey area in there. So we'll start with the first game, not a hometown game. We've got those dirty, filthy Philadelphia Eagles traveling all the way out to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow.
To see the Raiders and, their new coach, because we're not going to get into John Gruden, but he's out. Of course, you've heard that. Urban Meyer's so happy about John Gruden because he was at the headline in the news for a week. And then now it's like everyone forgot about Urban Meyer and doing his little tushy dance. So anyway, we've got the Eagles traveling to Las Vegas, Dougie, and the Raiders are giving 3 points at home. What do you like?
I like the Raiders. I think they do have some locker room issues now with their, they got to figure out their new leadership. But Jalen looks all right, but I just don't think the Eagles have it. I think the Raiders are a solid team this year.
I'm with you, Dougie. I think, they really showed up big. They beat the hell out of, Denver last week. And, I think there's a lot more than just the coach there. I think you've got Carr is a real baller.
Yep.
And I think they've got a team. So I'm going to go with the Raiders with you, okay? We'll be together on this one.
Nice.
Okay, now we've got the North Carolina Panthers, or the Carolina Panthers, who's like, I guess, somewhat of a little bit of an adopted team for the family, doing all the business we have in Carolina. Shout out to my brother-in-law, Scott Dodd. He's going to the game with his buddies. He used to live in Carolina as well. So they're excited about that. So Carolina's coming up here to MetLife Stadium. And let's see, the Giants are getting 2.5 points at MetLife Stadium. Dougie, I'm taking the Giants here. Home team getting the points. We need a win here.
You do.
Should be nice weather. I'm taking the Giants. Dougie, what about you?
I'm a Giants fan too, but I'm gonna have to go with Carolina. I think the Giants need more than 2.5 points. They need at least 4.
Well, you know what? You can go to your FanDuel or your DraftKings or your WinBet or Caesars. The ads are, the amount of money being spent on advertising. And you could buy that up if you want. You could go Giants +4.
Oh, yeah, I can make my own odds.
Yes, it's called alternate spread.
Ooh.
Now, you're not going to get the same odds as you'd get, so if you bet $50 and you win 45, now maybe you bet 50, you win 30.
Gotcha.
So the odds change.
Gotcha. Didn't know that.
It's like a little
You
insurance
learn thing every
policy.
day. Yeah.
See, learn something new from a degenerate gambler. Great. Okay, so we're split on that one. That's good. And then finally, I'm gonna look at the Jet game.
Yeah.
We've got the New York Jets, who haven't done diddly squat in
Mhm.
I don't know how many years. They think because they went to 2 AFC Championship games that means anything.
Oh,
But
wow.
if you're 30 or 40 years old, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. The Giants have 4 Lombardi trophies to show in my 42 years. Jets are going up to New England to see Bill Belichick and his crazy son, and they are giving the Pats are giving 7 points, a touchdown
Mhm.
to the Jets, to Zach Wilson and the Jets. So what do you
Yeah.
think there, Dougie?
I think that's the Jets. They're just gonna lose by more than 7. Mac Jones is warming up. Who they just play? The Patriots played someone, gave them a run for their money. Dallas.
Yeah,
that was a good
an
game.
incredible ending.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
great game. Yeah, I don't think the Jets would have hold a candle in that game. So I'm gonna go with the Pats.
Dougie, I'm with you on this one. I think Belichick just is gonna destroy a rookie quarterback,
Mhm.
and I think he is sick in his mind where he wants this to be a
he
Squid
enjoys
Game,
it.
like he enjoys it. And I think Mac Jones is better than everyone thought,
Mhm.
but I also think the system makes him.
Yeah.
The system is incredible, is proving out, and Patriots don't lose a lot at home, and so to win 3 or 4 points is kind of basic, no brainer. So to go to the touchdown, I think this could be a 20-point blowout,
Yeah.
no issue.
Mhm.
Okay, so just to recap, we've got you and I are together. We're both picking the Raiders, giving 3 at home against the Eagles. We're split. You're going to go with Carolina. I'm going to go with the Giants getting 2.5 at home in MetLife against the Panthers. And we're both going to be together as the Patriots are giving 7 points to the visiting Jets, who have 1 victory, just like the Giants. So we're kind of together, I guess. All right, so that brings us to the core part of the Get Up with Garret show today.
Mhm.
We are going to talk about probably the most influential real estate business book in history. It certainly played a tremendous role in me understanding kind of where I was going in my career and helping me make that decision to move back from California and join the family business and start looking at acquiring more income-producing assets.
Mhm.
So the title of the book is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And there's various offshoots. Here's some. I actually couldn't find my original one. It's probably somewhere, but I found these other ones. I don't know if you can see this, Doug.
No, you're good.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
So you
perfect.
got Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Should be a hand model.
Real estate. That's another Seinfeld episode. Real estate riches, how to become rich using your banker's money, and real estate loopholes, secrets of successful real estate investing. So, over the next few months, we'll cover different topics in commercial real estate. Why does our family invest in commercial real estate? Why do we love it? And there's just a number of reasons, and some of them are more valuable than others, and some of them to you may be more valuable.
Mhm.
And so we'll cover all those. And as I thought about putting together a presentation and talking it through on the show, I kept coming back to the foundation of that was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I wanted to start with that, and I wanted to really kind of explain that to the audience. So I've got some notes here on the book, and then we're going to show you a little video from Robert's words as well. So Rich Dad Poor Dad is obviously about Robert Kiyosaki, and he had metaphorically 2 dads, right? He had his real father, who he calls the poor dad, who was an employee and a worker his whole life. And then he had his rich dad, who was the dad of his best friend, who was, a business owner and investor. And the book really kind of covers how these 2 men shaped his life, right? And we've all had mentors in our life. I have a lot of people other than my father who have influenced me and have shaped me. And that's very healthy, common and healthy. The other kind of 2 or 3 big points here is he says you don't need to earn a high income to be rich. So a lot of people think being rich is just making a lot of money. It's not. Being rich is keeping a lot of money, right? In this, of course, there's many other things that make you rich in life too, time with your family and friends and your health. But in this definition, it's not about how much you make; it's about how much you keep. Okay. And then the other big thing he says is rich people make money work for them. So think about that for a minute. Rich people make money work for them versus going to work for the money, right?
Yeah.
So he highlights there's five big concepts here. So he says the poor and the middle class. Again, these are his words. So if you don't like these terms, I'm sorry. It's not. I didn't write the book. You can let him know that at his podcast, whatever, Instagram. The poor and the middle class work for money. He says the rich have money work for them. It's not how much money that you make that matters. It's how much money that you keep. So I think that's talking about taxes, right? And of course, investing. Rich people acquire assets, right? Think real estate. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. Okay. It says financial aptitude is what you do with money once you make it, and how you keep people from taking it from you. Like, again, taxes. And the single most powerful asset we have is our mind. Well, the mind part brings me right back to Ed Milet's book and talking about the RAS, right? And the filter and how you got to focus on the things that are important to you and what you want to do. So that's kind of the overview in his words as a general thought. The core basis of this book is, and we're going to show a video in a second here, is what's called the cash flow quadrant. And so in order to understand kind of this book, you have to understand the cash flow quadrant, which basically breaks everybody down into either an employee, a self-employed, a business owner, or an investor. And so I want to get a chance to share with you a great video from Robert's words that kind of really gives you an overview of what that means. So Dougie, when you're ready,
Yep,
you can let her rip.
we're letting them rip. Oh, my bad. We got your pump up music still playing.
All right, put that.
Here we
All right,
go.
let's try
My
again.
bad. Here we go. Now we're rocking.
Robert Kiyosaki, in his own
Most
words.
people say go to school and get a good, safe, secure job and put it in a 401k or mutual funds and all this. What they should be teaching people, and what makes the Rich Dad Company different, is we educate people to the point of view there's three different types of income. There's earned income, portfolio income, and passive income. When you say to somebody, go to school and get a safe, secure job, that's earned income. When you say to somebody, buy this house, or the price may go up, or the stock may go up, that's portfolio income. It's also called capital gains. Earned income, this is the most highly taxed of all incomes. In the U.S., it's at least 50% for most people. Portfolio today is about 20%. And passive, if you're smart and you know what you're doing, you can get it down to 0% legally. And I do emphasize doing it legally. So since taxes are your highest expense, then why not work hard for passive income? Unfortunately, if you're an E or an S, then you're primarily working for earned income. If you put your money into savings or a 401k retirement, that too is earned income. So for most people who are following traditional advice, they're working for the most expensive of all incomes. It's earned income. The Rich Dad Company teaches people to be B's and I's and the advantages of working hard for portfolio and passive income. And that makes a very big difference since taxes are your greatest expense. So part of your financial education is learn the different types of income, the different types of taxes, because taxes are not fair. They always incentivize the entrepreneur and the investor. Learning to be or an I is what the Rich Dad Company stands for.
Cool.
Nice.
Learn something there.
Yeah. Well, I love that book, but it's always good to refresh. It's a great book.
So which one do you think you fit in? We're going to go through them and break them down.
I mean,
think about yourself and your company for a minute.
Yeah. So I'm, an E and an S. I got to get more into the B and the I's. But we are building this brand and this company, and these are things that I'm thinking about. Is how can I take the earned income and put it into assets and things that will work for me while I sleep. I got some cryptocurrency, but that's not really income. It's growing, but it's not.
It's an asset.
It's
right?
an asset. It's growing. Yeah.
If you own $10,000 of Ethereum or Bitcoin,
yeah,
it's an asset. It's tradable, right?
Yeah.
It's volatile as hell right now, but it's something that you can go up in value and you can sell. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna break down these quadrants a little bit deeper. As we're breaking down these quadrants, let me know, what do you think you are, and are you happy where you are? And if not, let us know in the comments, where do you want to be? So maybe you're an E and you want to be an S. Maybe you're an E and you want to be an I. Let us know in the comments what you think you are, and you need to kind of look introspectively and be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with any of these quadrants. No matter what makes you happy in life, That's totally fine. If you want to be an employee, which is the E, right? And that is what drives your joy in life, right? Getting the security of a paycheck, having maybe there's a great insurance program and great food at where you work and a pension. I want to be very clear. This is not an attack on a W-2 employee. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if that's not what brings you joy and happiness, right? You're going to wake up one day and you're going to have wasted your entire life and career if you didn't look at it early. There's a famous story. I'm sorry to get gruesome, but there's a famous story about someone took a frog and they put this frog in a hot boiling pot on the stove, and the frog jumps right out. Too hot. I'm out of here. Right? Okay. Well, then the scientist said, well, let's see what happens if we slowly adjust the temperature. So now they put the frog in and the water is not hot. And they slowly raise it up and it gets a little warm and it's nice and comfortable and the frog's great. And then it gets a little hotter and the frog's great and it's a little hotter. And guess what happens? The frog just slowly dies, right? Because the frog doesn't realize that they're being a little bit of turned up a heat over, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. That's your career as an employee. If, and I want to say if you're not, happy with that and you don't pay attention. And so the earlier when you're younger and you can start learning skills, making investments, and not waking up at 70 years old and saying, oh, shoot, this is not where I want to be. Because maybe it may be a little late at that juncture.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the book, he calls it some kind of loop where like you're just like on the whatchamacallit hamster wheel and you're just constantly trying to earn your money now. And he even says that he commends his father for having such a good work ethic and working hard. But like we're going to draw that attention to the right areas because you can break that loop, if you will.
So the problem with being an employee is that they're taxed very high. They're taxed the highest. If you're an employee, your tax rate may be as high as 50%. Everything gets taken out of your check. So basically the government's taking your money first, right? And they're investing it. They're doing things with it. So the E's love security. It's all about security. Okay. It's about the pension, about the insurance. It's about waking up every day knowing exactly where they're going. In fact, unfortunately, a lot of E's don't get financial education and financial literacy because all they focus on is the security. They think they have it, Dougie. That's the problem. They're only focused on, all right, I've got it. I've got the insurance. I've got the maternity leave that I wanted. I've got the paternity leave I wanted. I've got you name it, the lunch at Google or Bloomberg, right? And so unfortunately, the financial literacy from what he talks about in the book is what gets left behind. So when employees need more money, they look for a higher paying job. Okay. So that's the E. That's the E category, the E quadrant. Okay. So let's go to the S. S, Dougie, is for self-employed. Okay. Yeah. So self-employed people are doctors, lawyers, dentists, accountants, right? These are people that have the attitude of no one can do it better than me. Okay. Think about that for a minute, Dougie.
Told you I was an S.
So if you're an S, let me know. Please comment below. Let us know if you're an S. Nothing wrong with being an S.
Yeah.
Okay. They like the idea of security, but they also have a larger tolerance for risk, right? Does that sound like you a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm a gambler.
Okay.
I'm a gambler, man.
Do you ever have a hard time delegating to others? Because that's a very common trait of S's.
We're working on that. And maybe I am kind of sliding into the B area, but I mean, at the beginning stages of this business, you're definitely, I think in any business, because let's just say for a hair salon, right?
Sure.
If all your stylists leave, you need to be able to cut hair and keep the business running.
Sure. If you're so in our model,
not in your model, but like if
our model,
a little different. But
nobody wants me cutting hair. Trust me, Dougie. Nobody.
If you're a cook, if you have a restaurant, all your cooks leave. You gotta get your hands dirty. And in any business, any trait that you're in, any industry that you're in, you should have some knowledge of it, so you could step in all aspects. Either clean the floors, you know what I mean? Like,
so the hairstylists at Salons by JC who rent their own suites, they are now S's. They used to be E's. When they were at a traditional hair salon, getting the W-2, getting their money taken out. Now they're S's. They make their own hours. They're just like a doctor, a lawyer. They bill their own rates. Okay. So when S's want more money, what do?
Charge more for their haircuts.
They either charge more or they work more.
Mhm.
Right? They find more people to bill.
Yes.
Okay, so that's very consistent. The hairstylist, the doctor, the lawyer, the dentist, the
Mhm.
accountant, that all sounds familiar. So that's your S category. So if
Yes.
you're an S, let me know that you know you're an S and you love you're an S. Okay, now that's the left side of the quadrant.
Yeah.
Okay, I better put this back in front of me.
I got it. I'm putting it back on the screen.
Put it back on the
I've been
screen?
popping it up in and out for
Okay,
everybody.
perfect. So we got the E and the S's.
Yes.
That's our left side.
Yes.
Let's talk about the right side. Okay,
There's nothing wrong with it.
nothing wrong with the right. This is not political. It's not left or right. The oh yeah, when I said right side, I don't mean the correct side. I mean the right side. As I put my shoes on backwards today. The B's
Yes.
stands for business owner.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so unlike those in the S,
Mhm.
the business owners, they don't really own a job.
Mhm.
Okay, they more own a system or a
Mhm.
product.
Yes.
Remember back to when we had George Knopf from Franchise.
Mhm.
The number one thing that George talked a lot about was that you're buying into a system when you buy into a franchise.
Mhm.
It's a manual. It's best practices that have already been fine-tuned. I always
Mhm.
like to say they already lost their money figuring it out before they came and asked me for money, which is a great quality, by the way.
Mhm.
So business owners have some type of system or product that make money
Mhm.
when they're not there.
Yes.
So think about that for a second. So where do we fill in now with that?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like I'm straddling that line. I still need to be part of the process, but I'm trying to give more responsibilities so we can grow our team and grow our machine here.
Okay, so now let's talk about the Salons by JC model,
Yes,
right?
Mhm.
Am I a B in that model?
I believe so.
Absolutely, because I'm here doing the podcast
And they're
they're working,
Yeah.
cutting hair, making their own money,
Mhm.
and paying rent.
Yes.
They don't need me there.
Yes.
Okay, so that business is profitable without
Mhm.
me being there at this minute.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's clearly a B. That's
Yes.
that's exact. He'd be happy with that.
Yes. You made it. You made it. You're on the right side.
Now, he does define B, like he'll say a business owner, is a bigger, because some people say to me, well, Garrett, what's the difference between S and B? It's the same company.
Mhm.
So I think when he's saying B, he's thinking like you have a lot more employees. I think
Yeah.
in some cases he said,
The business runs without you.
yeah, he said a few hundred employees. That
Mhm.
may not be, again, this book was probably written 20 years ago now.
Uh-huh.
So I think with technology and how we all work, you
Mhm.
probably don't have to have 500 employees to be a B.
Mhm.
I think like with our Salons by JC model and Wework and other things, those models work as a B with only a few people, right?
Mhm.
Clearly.
There's a great business coach around here. We talk every once in a while, and his quote is, if your business can't run without you, you don't have a business, you have a job. Something like that. He
So-
could do it better than I can.
Yeah. I think there's
Something along
a
those
quote.
lines.
George Knopf had a friend who said, if it can't make you money while you're sleeping and you can't sell it
Mhm.
without you, it's not a business, it's a hobby,
Yeah.
right? So if you wanted to sell your company and you said, hey, I'm going to the beach,
Yeah.
can the company still run?
Mhm.
That's an important kind of designation to think
Yeah.
about. Nothing wrong with having a hobby, by the way.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with making some side hustle.
And I think that's where the line is drawn with being an S and a B. I think that's the harder line. Can the business run without you? You're more in the B area. Can it? It does not. All right. You're probably more in the S area.
Bees love to delegate,
Mhm.
and they know that if they go away for vacation for a year and they come back, that business will still be the same, if not better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Without them. I mean, look at like Amazon, right? Bezos is probably not even involved.
Oh, yeah, he's in space.
He's in space. He's
hanging out
writing
in
the
space.
Washington Post with calligraphy. He's doing a million things. Is Amazon still delivering packages to my house?
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of the designation of Bs. And by the
Mhm.
way, the taxes are totally different in that world,
Mhm.
corporations and how they do tax.
Mhm.
And Robert Kiyosaki's right, where there's a lot of tax loopholes that favor kind of the B and the
Yeah.
I side. And some of those we'll talk about over the next year in terms of just general real estate investing.
And you can't get mad at that. It's knowing the system, being well versed in
Yes.
financial literacy. You can't get mad at that. Why don't you do the research and help and figure out what you can do to benefit yourself?
Absolutely. Sometimes you'll hear people get very political and they'll say, that person paid no taxes. Okay.
Mhm.
So if they did it legally,
Yeah.
right? Through, I don't know, one of these books is called Real Estate Loopholes. It's probably about taxes. If they did it legally,
Yeah.
why are you getting down on them? Why aren't you celebrating them and calling them an absolute genius?
Yeah.
Just like you would call an artist or someone that created a vaccine a genius, right?
Yeah. Especially if they're employing thousands of people. They're helping people earn
Absolutely.
money as well. So.
Absolutely. So then the next one, well, before I get to the last one,
Yeah.
the last comment here is when business owners need more money,
Mm-hmm.
they create new products
Mhm.
or they acquire a new system that creates money, right? So what would an example be of that? Some type of extension of their brand. If you look at Lance Steer from Nassau Candy, when we had him on in one of our earlier episodes, Lance is always out acquiring different types of confection companies, novelty companies, personal product companies that he can sell to his existing customers. So if he wants to create more cash flow, he can now offer a larger suite of items and custom items for his existing customers. That's a B. That's a B.
Yeah.
That's a big time B.
Absolutely. 100%.
100%.
Mhm.
Okay, so that takes us to the last quadrant, which is I. And I don't mean I like me. I mean I, investor. I for investor. So investors have what they say is the highest education, financial education, not necessarily, and probably definitely not school education, financial literacy of anyone in the cash flow quadrant. Okay, so I's often use other people's money also, and we'll talk a lot about that throughout our real estate conversations, but they often use income, like you said, they use income from assets to acquire even more assets, which therefore generates more wealth and creates a velocity of money.
Yes.
I think I like that.
100%.
Why would you want one of those Dyson fans when you can have a velocity of money? Wow.
Yes.
Sounds even better.
100%.
So they get the best tax breaks. And again, this is all what's legal, and they just take advantage of what's out there. And it says the richest people in the world are investors. And as a general principle, it says 70% of their income comes from investments, and the other 30% comes from just wages. Okay. Whereas like the E would be 100% from wages. And it says when investors are looking for an opportunity and they need more money, right? What do? They acquire an asset that produces more passive income. So what's a good example of that?
Buying a hot dog stand.
Okay. Tell me, who bought a hot dog stand?
No, I'm just trying to think of. See, that's actually my question. When you're ready for questions, that's one of my questions for you. Is like, if someone is an E or an S and they've accumulated nothing crazy, but they have some extra cash, what are some things that they can invest in? Maybe they can't invest in a commercial real estate property yet, but maybe they can invest in a hot dog stand or a food truck or something like that. Are those things to warm up to the big leagues? Like, how do you know what I mean? Is that making sense? Is this question making sense?
Absolutely makes sense. I think the better route would be see, if you invest in a hot dog stand, right? There's a lot of moving pieces there. You've got getting the permit from the health department for the town you're going to have the hot dog stand. Now you got to hire a bunch of high school kids and college kids to sell the hot dogs, right? And you're kind of dependent on when they show up. Now you've got, what are my food costs? Well, I don't know. Did pork bellies go up? And what's, where are the pigs? What are they doing? Food costs go up. Okay. Well, where's my fuel? What's the fuel cost on the propane tank for keeping the hot dogs hot in that water, right? It's hard to get products. So maybe stainless steel is hard to get, and that's the outside of the hot dog tank. Maybe you can't get foil because you got to wrap the dogs in foil. There's a lot of little things that go on with a hot dog stand. And how many hot dogs are you going to have to sell to make really a lot of money? Even if you sell the hot dogs at $2 a hot dog, is it really worth your time to sell 100 hot dogs? That's $200. Is that worth all this extra risk and time of putting together the hot dog stand? So I would say, and by the way, if you're at Hawthorne Day and there's no other food there and there's 20,000 people and you have 20,000 hot dogs and you're going to do it yourself, that probably is a great use of your day. Okay. But is that really the bread and butter of where you're going to be every day? Probably not.
No.
The better use of that $25,000 or $50,000, this extra kind of money you have,
Yeah.
is to invest with someone like our family or another like-minded family
Mm-hmm.
that has passive income opportunities available to accredited investors. So an example would be if you were buying into the Hilltop apartment complex we had in Winston-Salem, North
Mhm.
Carolina. We have a multitude of different types of investors who invested numbers like that, and
Mhm.
of course much larger, and they receive a 8% coupon every year. And they have ownership in the property, and as the property goes up in value, they will get, if we sell it or refinance it, obviously a big pop of value there. And that's called a passive limited partner, an LP. They actually don't have to do anything. When they are sleeping, they're making money.
Nice.
When they're at the gym, they're making money.
Nice.
When they're traveling, they're making money. So that's something that I think is a great way to learn real estate, because you get the benefit of a seasoned veteran. Again, I'm not pitching anyone particularly to invest here.
No, I'm sold. So
with
can I
our
get in the
family.
hedges, please?
But that one's all filled up. But
Oh, man.
we'll have to talk about the next one
All right.
in the future. But that's a great way to learn about real estate, because you're basically getting a doctor who went to medical school for many, many years. We have 70 years of experience. Other companies have hundreds of years of experience.
Mhm.
And to do it on your own is a little scary.
Oh yeah.
And so if you invest with a company like that, you'll learn, right? You'll see how things go. And after a couple of them, maybe you'll decide to go buy your own. But maybe it's not 169 units like Hilltop House, Dougie.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just a 10 unit. And you live there with
Yeah.
your wife, right?
Yeah.
And therefore you can keep an eye on it. So I always recommend people start with something like that. 5 unit, 10 unit, you live there.
Mhm.
You fix some of the stuff yourself. Your buddy does some fixing for you. That's a great way to learn. When that then goes up in value, you don't sell it, you refinance it, and you refinance it and take those dollars out and go buy your next one.
Nice.
And that's your cycle. And we'll talk about that more in other episodes. So does that help answer your question?
100%. Yeah, I'm trying to think of ways to help people get from the E and the S and more into the. The I is the golden is the golden area. You want to get to the I. So I know you are heavy into real estate. And that's your bread and butter, and you know that the best. Do you think there's any? Obviously, the hot dog stand was a terrible idea. But so that's probably the start. That's where the start is to partner up with another. There's nothing. Is there any other paths or avenues you can think of that? Let's just say someone had 10 grand.
Well, let me start with this. I think the concept that you have to understand, Dougie, is you want to defer some of those luxuries until you're in the I. Right. So let's say you want to go buy a fancy watch, or you want to go get a fancy car, something that may be a depreciating asset, especially, or a fancy trip or a fancy dinner. Right. And I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy yourself, because you absolutely should. We talked about that, especially after a deal. But don't be confused by necessities and luxuries. Friend of mine
think a BMW, they need to have it to be the best real estate agent.
Right. That's crazy. I have a friend who said to me, he goes, I hate those heated seats. And I said, what do you mean, in the car? I go, yeah. I have a heated steering wheel. It's incredible. It keeps my hands so warm. And he goes, Garrett, when you were young, did you have a heated steering wheel? I said, no. I said, well, did it take you to school? Yes. He goes, well, that's a luxury that just became a necessity to you. And that really hit home. And look, I can afford to have the heated steering wheel, but if you can't, you shouldn't. That's crazy. And he's exactly right. That, like, a heated seats, you want your tush warm in the winter, it absolutely is a luxury. That's not a necessity. So think of it that way. Defer some of that gratification until the asset can pay itself, right? So instead of going out and having the big party, the big trip, whatever it may be, put that money away. Something you can do really easily, you can buy like an S&P ETF, like a fund that just basically buys the whole market. I think the stock market in 2022 is going to still be very strong. I think we're going into the roaring 20s again, personally. So I am more vested now in the stock market. And so being that you may not be an expert on certain companies, although there are easily, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Amazon, some great companies that are going to be solid for a while, I feel. You could just buy like an S&P ETF, and that will allow you to kind of get the broad market and just roll with that with 10 grand for the next year. I would recommend that, actually.
Absolutely. And aren't there, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't there some like index funds which are like top 50 stocks performing, and that's always cycling through or something?
Tons of them. And there's also companies that are similar to mine that are online doing what's like crowdfunding, it's called, where they raise money for real estate deals. And it's small chunks. It's like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. When you work with us, you're typically going to be more like $50,000, $100,000, but you're going to have a relationship. You're going to know me. You're going to be able to call me directly, which I think is very valuable.
Yeah.
But if you are starting out and you want to dip your toe in commercial real estate, you should Google some of the crowdfunding sites and just make sure you really understand that you talk to the sponsor, understand their experience, understand how they know the market, because the quality of the person you work with is everything, right? So, we talk a little bit in the book, Dougie. He talks about how to move from the left to the right, okay, as you asked. Yep. Good segue. And so a couple things that came out here. He says they maintain a long-term vision and plan, okay? So maybe write it down and think about, I want that hot dog truck. What does it cost?
I don't want it anymore. You talked me out of that one. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And at least getting there. He also mentions here they believe in delayed gratification. Yep. Okay, so we just talked about that. I didn't even look at this till right now. They use the power of compounding in their favor. So compounding means that you're going to reinvest your earnings. And so when you own a stock fund or a certain stock and they do a distribution, instead of taking that money out and getting taxed on it and spending it on hot dogs and spending it on t-shirts and a trip to wherever you want to go, the Bahamas, reinvest that money. So when you're in a stock fund, put it back in. So if you had 100 shares of Apple and Apple gives you 2 shares, right? Now you have 102. Yeah. Don't take it out. So I think there's a number around, my Uncle Paul will correct me. I think it's something like 70% of people's big wealth in that world comes from the reinvestment, not the initial money going up, just the distributions. With our commercial real estate deals, we do give these distributions every quarter. Now, some people who invest in me are on fixed income, so they use that money for their life and trips and fun stuff, and some take it and reinvest it.
Yeah. But
that's the secret to real long-term generational wealth, is delaying and deferring that gratification and compounding, reinvesting that money. And you know this because you told me this, reinvesting it into something else.
Yeah.
So plan it out, write it down, get your 5-year vision, your 10-year vision. And really that's how you get from the left side to the right side.
Yeah. And it's a different loop. So the first loop we talked about was you work, you get money. The second loop is you take your passive money and reinvest it, and then reinvest it. And it's a different loop. And that loop, can pay off dividends.
Absolutely. And he goes on to talk about, I just highlighted some different quotes as I went through this. He says, an asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Okay. So that really cool boat that you want, you saw your friend buy, what do they say? The boat owner's best day is their first day, and their second best day is the day they sold. That's going to run you a lot of maintenance, a lot of upkeep. Now, if you're, a centimillionaire and a billionaire, okay, these are rounding errors. So don't compare yourself to those people. That's not accurate.
Yes.
Also talks a lot about many financial problems are related to keeping up with the Joneses. And I'm sure we've all felt this way. I have felt that way in times. I'm sure you have, Dougie, and the audience has. It's so important that you compete with yourself, right? When you go to the gym, you work out, you want to have a healthy understanding of your body and what's realistic for you. If you're doing it, my daughter's trying tennis now, and we keep saying with tennis is a great sport because you're really taking the lessons and you're competing with yourself. You're trying to get yourself better. You can go hit with anybody, right? Yeah. Hit with Dougie, hit with B-Rock, hit with Mommy, hit with Daddy. Doesn't matter. And of course, you can play games and be on the high school team and all that. But it's a sport and a skill that forever you can continue to look in the mirror and can I get better? Yeah. And people do get really fed up with lost in this idea of competing up with the Joneses. I can tell you from firsthand, somebody always has a bigger house. Somebody always has a faster car, right? And someone else has a fancier pair of shoes or a bigger diamond on their finger. You are never going to win that game. Sometimes you say the grass is greener somewhere else. Folks, water your lawn where you live. That's all I can say to you.
Make another t-shirt.
Jessica, put it on a t-shirt. Water the lawn where you live. Invest in the relationships that you have with your family and your friends, your loved ones, your existing businesses. I promise you, if you focus on that, you will unearth incredible opportunities for you.
Yeah.
Water the grass where you live.
Yeah. Don't be like, if you're going to get something, make sure it's because you like it. Don't get it because you're trying to impress someone else. You know what I mean? Like, we're sneakerheads, but we're not buying the sneakers because we're trying to impress someone else. We enjoy that particular
Absolutely.
sneaker.
And I have no issue spending $200 or $300 on a pair of sneakers and wearing them. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's not an asset
Yeah.
that I have to sell it, I have to flip it, I
Yeah.
have this. For me,
Yeah.
I enjoy them. It reminds me of my childhood,
Yeah.
and it just makes me feel happy, and it's not an issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
It says the rich like to focus on their asset columns, not on their income statements.
Mm-hmm.
You know, building assets is, again, what's
Yeah.
critically important. You know, we talked a little bit about deferring the gratification. You know, everybody wants to go get a new car, but
Yep.
they forget a new car depreciates what, 20,
Mhm.
30% the minute you take it off the
Yep.
lot. Nothing wrong with buying a used car to get started,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so just want to give you a couple final things here in terms of the assets he talks about. We talked about assets. So he says
Mhm.
assets are stocks, bonds, income generating real estate, which is our expertise,
Mm-hmm.
IOU notes, like bank notes. You know, there's certain things you can buy that are kind of, you can buy a loan that somebody took out. That's an
Mhm.
asset. And then, of course, royalties from music, or, you know, a patent that maybe you came up with, a franchise, certainly. And, you know, he says really wealthy families, they buy the luxuries last. And sometimes people who aren't that way or want to be that way, they buy it first because they want to create an image of themselves. He says a true luxury is being able to reward yourself by investing or developing a real asset.
Mm-hmm.
That really resonates, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing I thought, he talked a little bit about the mind, and I wanted to circle that back and tie it back to the talk about the RAS. He says the single most powerful asset we have is our mind,
Mhm.
and if it's trained well, it can create enormous wealth. And he says the world is always handing you opportunities of a lifetime every day of your life, but all too often we fail to see them. So what do you think about that, Doug? How does that create back to the RAS?
Because your RAS is focused on what you're looking for. So if you're constantly, thinking that the world is out to get you, you're going to find deals that get you.
I also want to take it a step forward. I forget whose show I was listening to, but someone was talking recently about you got to ignore the negativity in your life, right? Like, everybody has friends that kind of bring you down, or always crying about something, or trying to talk negatively about other people. You don't need to spend time with those people. You got to weed that out of your life.
Yeah.
If you focus on kind of the top revenue generating things in your life, and the top happiness generating things and healthy generating things in your life, that's where you're going to go. Just ignore all the other garbage. It's noise.
Mhm.
I always say that. Just ignore the noise.
Yeah.
Dougie, that's it. That's what I got for you.
Great. Yeah,
So
that's great.
that's my recommendation of Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Nice.
Love you to go out and take a look, and either go to your library and check it out, or buy it, or check out one of these other variations, Real Estate Loopholes and Real Estate Riches. This one I really enjoyed as well.
Mhm.
And just I highly recommend you take a look if you're thinking about kind of becoming an entrepreneur and moving from the ENS to the BNI. You start with this series. And if you have any questions, feel free to email the show at getupwithgarret@gmail.com,
Mhm.
or you can reach out any other way on the social media channels and say hello. And look forward to seeing you next week, Dougie.
Absolutely. Great episode. Great information. I learned a ton. I'm sure they did. So thank you, Garrett.
Hey, I'm
It
here
was
to
a
give
pleasure
back.
getting up with you.
Thanks for getting up, everybody. We will see you next week. Dougie, take us out, baby.
Absolutely.